Welcome to the Couch Scouts Sports Podcast, bringing you the latest news and scores from the world of sports. Here are your hosts, Noah Bowick and Anthony Bill.
Alrighty, we are live. I just got to get your video up here, Anthony. There we go.
I'm gonna keep the Twitter open while this is going on too.
I know. You got to be like our breaking news because I got all
you gotta handle all that stuff over there.
I got all my screens going.
Yeah. Cowherd made a really good point. He said all the timing of this. He said he feels like Brady was giving the Patriots an opportunity to go get somebody like Diggs or Hopkins, and the same day that they were both traded is the same day that he went to Robert Kraft and was like, "Yeah, I'm leaving."
Dang.
Basically, he was like, "I gave you guys time, and you failed to bring me a weapon, so I'm out." Dang.
Wow, I wonder what they would have given up for Hopkins.
Right, second or fourth rounder, man. Like, you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, David Johnson, but it's not like David Johnson is that valuable.
Right.
I'm sorry. Maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah, the Texans must have really believe in David Johnson to only get a second round and a fourth round pick in return. They must see something that everyone else doesn't see.
Yeah, I don't know if he's that much of an upgrade over Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson.
Yeah. I mean, definitely in the last couple of years he hasn't showed that at all. Sweet. All right, well, welcome in to anyone tuning in on the stream. Couch Scouts podcast is back doing a live stream with the craziness that the NFL has been. It's been, honestly, someone tweeted out there, like, with everything going on, we really, like sports fans, really needed all this to happen. And it's been awesome. I don't even know. I don't feel like, Anthony, do you think that we've seen any kind of free agency and trades dropping like this, like at any point before? I just feel like this is like never before.
For NFL? No.
Yeah.
This is like even the NBA hasn't really been this crazy.
Yeah.
NBA has a lot of craziness at trade deadlines and free agency, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe the whole pandemic going on around America has these GMs going nuts, and they just need to make some news. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I feel
it's
like
been great. Loved it.
I feel like generally, like in most NFL free agencies, we have like a pretty good list of players that are available, and then like those players just sign, they go somewhere. But I feel like even players that I wasn't expecting to opt out of contracts or to get traded, it's all happening, it's just wild.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise was probably the DeAndre Hopkins one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely the big surprise that came out of nowhere. I remember I can't remember if it was me that texted you or you that texted me yesterday morning. We were like, "What?
Yeah.
This really just happened?"
You texted me. You're like, I think I texted you. I was like, David Johnson just got traded, and then you were like joking. You're like imagine if like Hopkins somehow was in that trade, and then you texted me like 5 minutes later. You're like, yo, he was. I'm like, what?
Oh, insane! Yeah.
Just crazy.
Gosh, they're pulling off Madden Dynasty mode trades right now.
I know.
Jeez.
What's crazy is I think a lot of people put those trades into like the Madden like trade thing, and it declined it.
You got the the red, yellow, and green. Like
Yeah.
red is absolutely not. That trade is definitely absolutely not. I literally am tempted to go to Madden when we get off of here, or later tonight, get on Madden and offer that same trade, and I guarantee you it gets declined.
Right. It was like literally off the charts.
Yeah, it's why you can't have a assistant to the regional manager running GM.
Right.
But whatever.
Exactly.
I'm excited though for that trade because it's going to be fun to see that Arizona offense. It was fun watching that offense last year. It struggled at first, but Kyler Murray was growing, Christian Kirk, and when they added Kenyon Drake, and obviously yesterday that was the first news that broke. They got Kenyon Drake back in Arizona, which obviously let them let go of David Johnson and bring DeAndre Hopkins. Like Arizona's looking like geniuses right now.
Right.
So
yeah,
and they need it in that division. So
yeah, for sure. I mean that the NFC West is just loaded right now. Like the move that the 49ers made to trade DeForest Buckner to get the 13th overall pick, and then I think they signed what was his name? Alexander, was it? I think one of their big linebackers. He came back in the playoffs and was just a beast. But they re-signed him. But I mean that 13th pick. Honestly, I was talking with a friend of mine who's a 49er fan yesterday, and I mean they're just loaded at every position. But they could come in and they could draft. They could potentially draft the number 1 safety or number 1 cornerback, depending on how things fall, and put him opposite side of Richard Sherman for another year. Or they could potentially just go out and get another
CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, another offensive weapon to have Debo, CeeDee Lamb, and then re-sign Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
And even if they do have an aging offensive line, so they could potentially just dig into that and get a young offensive tackle just to build on their run game and protect Jimmy G. So
exactly.
It's just wild. That I think that for me was the most surprising, just in the fact that the Colts would be willing to give up the 13th round pick for DeForest Buckner, who is, I mean, definitely deserving of that kind of praise, but it happened after Hopkins got traded for a second and a fourth, and and then I'm like, man, that was honestly the kind of value that you could get for Hopkins, who's only 28 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, it's telling that San Fran they got to the Super Bowl last year with their run game and their defense.
Right.
And obviously the emergence of Nick Bosa, he's already a top 5 defensive end in the league now.
Yeah.
And him and DeForest Buckner was a really good combo. So, I know Nick Bosa he's used to double teams. He did it at Ohio State. It's different. NFL, obviously, NFL offensive line is way different. But it'll be interesting to see how Nick Bosa does next year. He'll still be good.
Oh yeah.
DeForest Buckner and Nick Bosa, they fed off each other.
Yeah.
On that defensive line, and so. But either way, I think it was. Yeah. I think it was a good deal for the Niners. Like you said, the Colts, 13th pick. They could have gotten another weapon, maybe. I mean, I know they have T.Y. Hilton, but he's aging. Paris Campbell never really got to play last year.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but hey, pass rushers they're sought out big time in the NFL, so they don't fall from trees.
Yeah, I think it's honestly scary to think that the 49ers could add a top 15 rookie to their defense, because I mean, I haven't seen a defense play as sound of as a team defense like that in a long time, where they have the big names like Buckner and Bosa and Sherman, but it seemed like every other play there was a no-name guy that would just come in and have he come in and have 3 sacks a game, and you're just like, where's this guy coming from?
Right.
So I think the 49ers, I would say, are still the favorite in the NFC West, but the Cardinals, depending on what they do in the draft, they're definitely in my opinion, I would say they definitely have closed the gap, and they're right up there with the Seahawks as far as as far as their offense goes. And since the Seahawks, we kind of thought that they might make a move for Stephon Diggs, but not the case. So, I really like the Cardinals'
Right.
offense going forward.
Yeah, and the Rams. I'm sure the Rams will bounce back.
Right.
They're hungry, but Todd Gurley's on the market. Brandon Cooks has been on the market, so it's interesting. Maybe the Rams kind of actually regress a little bit more and start rebuilding their roster because they paid so much for all these guys, and now it's kind of like fallen. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And could you imagine somebody like Grant Delpit going to the Niners?
Yeah. Yeah.
So and John Lynch, obviously the GM, he's a Hall of Fame safety. So, he's looking at guys like him and Xavier McKinney and just guys like that in the draft. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, there's really just no telling what happens in the draft. Even like last year when the Giants went and picked Daniel Jones, everyone was kind of expecting him. We're expecting Haskins to go to the Giants there, and then the Giants go and pick up Daniel Jones, and he actually comes in and has a pretty solid rookie season. So even in a couple dynasty leagues like the one that we're in, our rookie draft is being determined by like where these guys get picked in the actual NFL draft, and I messaged in there like I really think it's dependent on Tua if he falls. I think a lot of the skill player guys are going to potentially go early, but they're going to go later. But if someone trades up for Tua, or if he gets picked in the first like six picks, I think the quarterbacks go really fast, and then the rest just kind of falls into place after that. But I wouldn't be surprised for Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, and Hurts to all be gone by the end of the second round if Tua goes the first six picks.
Yeah. I think the top four, they're all going to be, I think, first rounders. It's Jalen Hurts is the wild card, which is crazy to think because watching him all year, I'm like, I just don't see it. But I think the emergence that Lamar Jackson had has kind of helped Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is nowhere near Lamar Jackson, but just showing that you can be that type of quarterback in the league where you can throw for 200 and run for 100 or 150,
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, can't wait, and I'm glad. I think on our last, stream, we mentioned that they hadn't really announced what they're going to do about the draft yet. As of now, it looks like the draft is going to stay on schedule.
Yeah,
which is great. It's not going to be the Vegas showboating like they wanted, which I kind of like that. To be honest, I thought that was a little overboard.
Oh, that's literally showboating.
I didn't even think of that.
That's hilarious.
That's funny. That's a good one. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, so it's going to be a more intimate draft scene, maybe some small players with family and friends, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I'm excited because obviously that means the draft is 5 weeks away from now, 6 weeks. So
yeah,
it's coming soon. Free agency obviously has started. It's been amazing. Yeah. I don't know. Is there what's some of the moves that's been going on that you really want to get into? Because obviously a lot of what we're going to do is more fantasy related.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of these. We could talk about DeForest Buckner and defensive stuff, but that has nothing to do with fantasy.
Yeah.
So
for sure,
there's been some big moves that's going to impact some big time fantasy implications next year. So
yeah, let me share my screen with you, and we'll just kind of go through a lot of the re-signings, the franchise taggings, the tags, and kind of get that figured out. Let me just figure out where I put it.
Yeah. Trying to check the old Twitter.
Yeah, if anything happens, just interrupt us.
Oh, for sure I will. There's nothing. It's pretty quiet right now, other than the Patriots are finally recognizing how great Tom Brady was. You don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yeah.
So, Oh, actually, Bill Belichick said that. Amazing. Interested to read Belichick's statement on top.
Alrighty. All right. So this was a guy I think that we talked about in our last episode. Devontae Freeman. Can you see that, Bills?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I'm frozen up there, aren't I?
Oh, you are frozen.
That's weird.
Give me a
I
second.
do see Devontae Freeman now. Dude, we could save that pick for if we get some breaking news. The moment I found out.
Just a second, folks. Anthony has heard some breaking news. All right, give me just 1 second. Let me get your feedback up here. I'm not sure what's going on. All right. All right. Well, anyways, we'll get your video up. But talking about Devontae Freeman, so he was a player that we mentioned in the last episode, and so he gets released by the Falcons. So I think the Falcons are definitely going to be a team that go ahead, and I think it looks like they're going to tap into the NFL draft. I saw a lot of people saying either Dobbins or Jonathan Taylor. What are some potential landing spots that you think for Devontae Freeman?
Real quick, I think somebody that played really close home to the Atlanta Falcons, I think would be a huge pickup for them. I know you said Dobbins and Taylor, but DeAndre Swift,
Oh yeah.
That's somebody they might target because he's been playing in their backyard for the last 3 years. But Freeman, that's tough. I mean, he's gonna have to. Obviously, I think we mentioned Houston a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Obviously, not anymore. I don't know. It looks like he might have to go somewhere and be second string or a backup.
Yeah.
Which that's fine in the NFL. A lot of teams use two back systems, but I'm not sure. I don't think there's much rumblings on him yet. I'm surprised they released him. This is crazy. The Falcons a couple years ago had Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman, and now they're both gone.
Right, and I think he still had.
but
I still think he had
3
like
years.
3 years on his contract. Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw something that the Raiders might be a possible fit.
Yeah.
Just to give Josh Jacobs a breather.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe. I mean, maybe he could go to. I think I mentioned the Rams, but do you want to have a backup running back that's injury prone, backup an injury prone starter?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I feel like Devontae Freeman still has some in the tank. I don't think he's the typical Trent Richardson type back who had a couple good years and he's done.
Right.
So we'll see. But he's definitely going to be a good pickup for whoever gets him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
if he stays healthy.
I think the move to the Raiders would be really good. I think I could also see them. Did you mention the Rams in there as well? Yeah, I think.
Yeah, we did it on Friday.
Okay.
I mentioned it on Friday.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, I would be interested to see, if there's some other options that open up in there. I could potentially even see, depending on who Miami gets, if they do sign a Melvin Gordon or they do go into the draft, bringing Devontae Freeman in to kind of be that pass catcher, because that seems like where he really actually thrives. Is when you get him out into open space in the last couple of years, like just running in between the tackles has been where a lot of his injuries have come from. So, Yeah, definitely we'll be on the watch for him to see who he signs with. But he should get a pretty decent contract. Just, he's still got a few good, I'd say, good 3-4 years left in him, hopefully.
Yeah, because he's not. How old is Devontae Freeman? What's he at? Yeah, he's 28.
Right.
So I mean, he's starting to hit that. Um, he's starting to hit that, but and it's 2018. He only had 14 carries before that injury.
Right.
Last year he had 184.
Yeah.
But only a 3.6 average. So I mean.
Yeah.
But Atlanta was just so atrocious last year. The offensive line in Atlanta is pretty bad.
Yeah, it wasn't really until the end of the year that they got going, and I think he was out at that point.
Yeah. So.
All right, next.
But yeah, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was just gonna say I like the Miami fit potentially. Depending on what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Miami would be great because I think at this point it doesn't seem like he's a true workhorse running back like he was his first couple of years in Atlanta, and it seems like he really fits better just in that maybe second role or maybe kind of like the Patriots do, like a running back by committee, just to split the touches a little bit.
Right.
So that would be a good fit.
For sure. Maybe even there.
Yeah.
The Patriots like to get running backs that seem like they're not washed, but they brought LeGarrette Blount in and used him for just certain situations. So never know.
Yeah. Okay, another free agent signing. This is a franchise tag. Was Derrick Henry. He was a player that we talked about on Friday. It didn't seem like any surprise that the Titans made that move, and I think at this point the Tennessee Titans are definitely the favorite in their division. I mean, with the Texans trading away Hopkins, I got to think that them bringing back Tannehill, them franchise tagging Derrick Henry, that's going to be a big move for them, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of contract he gets next year, depending on how he does in 2020. But like we talked on the show last week, he's, in my opinion, he's a top 3 running back right now, behind, I would say, Zeke and behind Christian McCaffrey. He was tied for first in the league in touchdowns, I believe, first or second, and just literally carried that entire offense. So that's good news for the Titans and Titans fans. I would have liked them to spend the money on Derrick Henry rather than on Tannehill, but
Agreed.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. The Titans got a really, really big loss yesterday. I know they got Tannehill back. I feel like they overpaid for him, but whatever. Derrick Henry, they got him really cheap.
Yeah.
I think they said his salary is going to be like $10 million.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
Yeah.
But Jack Conklin is an all-pro offensive lineman, and the Browns took him yesterday. So that's a big loss. I'm not saying it's going to affect Derrick Henry, but it could affect their offense. It could affect Tannehill, just protection, scheme, and all that. But
yeah,
I agree they probably should be the favorite. But I want to see Tannehill prove it, because Tannehill did this in Miami where he looked like he was ready to, advance to a Pro Bowl type quarterback, and then he regressed and he sucked again.
Yeah.
Or not always his fault, like you mentioned, Adam Gase. He just sucks with people.
Right.
But the Colts, depending, obviously they have Phillip Rivers. I don't think that's going to make them that great.
Yeah.
It looks like the Colts are probably just going to be the Chargers now.
Yeah.
Same, the Texans, yes, they lost DeAndre Hopkins, which is huge. We'll see what they do in the draft. If they go get a wide receiver in the first or second round, they're not going to replace DeAndre Hopkins with that, but they can still replace a pretty good, some production.
Yeah.
And Deshaun Watson, I would assume, is just going to keep getting better. Who else is in that division? I can't think of the fourth team right now.
Colts, Jacksonville, Texans.
Jacksonville, yeah. Okay, yeah, Jacksonville. No, obviously, but they're rolling with Gardner Minshew, and we'll see what he does. But yeah, I agree. The Titans should be the favorites, but I feel like the Colts and Texans aren't that far off.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting after the draft and the rest of this free agency. So.
Cool. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Derrick Henry, but definitely still worthy of a first round pick in dynasty leagues. He should be the third or fourth. He could be interchangeable in the 1, 2, and 3 as well in some of your leagues. But if he drops at the fourth or at the fifth, you should definitely, if he's available, you should definitely be taking him at that point. Next was AJ Green, wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's currently ranked as the 40th. We talked about him on Friday as well, but currently ranked as the 40th wide receiver in dynasty leagues. Just given his age, he's 31. A lot of injuries throughout his career, but he will be back in Cincinnati and hopefully on the field finally in 2020. But what would you say? Would you say with the prospects of what Cincinnati's looking like in 2020? Would you say his value is increasing a bit in your ranks, or is he going to stay the same or drop?
I think he'll be better.
Yeah.
He's obviously been down because the Bengals have just been so bad the last couple of years, and he's dealt with so many injuries. But one thing that I know Joe Burrow told the Bengals when they were talking to him was he said, "Look, if you're going to pick me, then you got to keep AJ Green.
Yeah.
Like I want AJ Green." So
yeah.
So obviously Joe Burrow knows how valuable AJ Green is to that offense. So I would assume, and Joe Burrow showed it at LSU last year. It's not going to be the same offense, but he can distribute the ball to anybody.
Yeah.
And who they have, Tyler Boyd, right?
Yep.
And then John Ross.
John Ross.
Those two are just going to help AJ Green out.
Yeah.
So I feel like AJ Green can get back into that, top 30, maybe not all the way up there, but I think he can still be a very, very valuable asset.
Yeah.
In this league, because he's not that old. I think he's 30, 31.
31, yeah.
Wide receivers age way better than running backs do.
Yeah.
So,
and
AJ Green should still be valuable.
And one thing to note, like even despite his injuries in the past, I think he's going into his 9th year, and in 7. Let's see. Okay, so not counting 2018 when he only played 9 games, but from 2011 to 2017, so 7 years, he had 7 or more touchdowns in 5 of those 7 years, and then 6 out of those 7 years was over 1,000 yards. So and that's with the Bengals. Like, he was playing with old quarterbacks, no-name quarterbacks, Andy Dalton. So for him to get a talent like Joe Burrow, or we'll see who they grab, but that could be a really good just boost for him. And he's a guy that you can actually get fairly cheap right now, just because a lot of players or a lot of dynasty owners are fairly negative on him just because of the injury. So he's a player that you could definitely be looking at.
Yeah. Well, even that year that you discounted, the 2018.
Yeah.
He still had 6 touchdowns that year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
on 40,
this guy
on 46
has,
catches.
He has 63 touchdowns.
Yeah.
In 8 years of career.
Yeah.
So he's averaging 8 touchdowns per year.
Yeah.
I would assume that he can put up a very similar number to that if he stays healthy next year.
Right.
So.
Cool. Moving on to our next player is going to be another guy that we talked about on Friday, just confirming Kenyon Drake was franchise tagged by the Cardinals. A really good move for them, a really good move for him. The Cardinals get their clear running back 1, moving on from David Johnson, and lock up a guy who came into their system not knowing their system, and I think in their first game he literally lit it up, had like 2 touchdowns, 150 yards, give or take. But definitely a guy that fits into that offense with Kyler Murray well. They love to air it out, and he's a guy who in Miami really didn't get to show his receiving talent and kind of that versatility. But in 2019, when he was playing with the Cardinals, definitely a guy that was able to do that. So I'm up on him for sure. In one of my leagues, I just offered a first round pick along with a wide receiver for Drake. It got declined, but I kind of expected it was kind of a low ball offer, but definitely his value is definitely up there in the first round, a first round plus probably another either a second round or third round pick if you're looking to trade for him, or to sell him. But I think he fits in there well.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his stats, so his 3.5 years in Miami, he had 9 touchdowns. And half of the year with the Cardinals, he had 8.
Yeah.
So he already has put up his career. He matched his career numbers in Miami for those 3.5 years in half of the year.
Yeah.
So, and if you look at him, his career average is just under 5 yards a carry. Like he's a good back. He was even good in Miami, just like you said. They didn't use him right.
Right. Exactly.
So I mean, Kenyon Drake, dude, the Cardinals. We keep mentioning it.
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake has a chance to be a top 10, maybe even sneak into like 6 or 7 fantasy running back range, maybe even higher. You know, I mean, that might be a stretch, but I just look for him to have a huge year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm with you there for sure.
Don't draft him too early, but don't be afraid to take that risk and take him. You know, because he doesn't really deal with injuries too bad. You know, a little here and there, but everybody gets hurt in Miami, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, his ADP is definitely climbing. It's at a 63 right now, and I would expect for him to probably jump into like the 40s, late 40s, definitely in the 50s, going into the month of April. But I mean, yeah, his values. He's only ranked as the 20th dynasty running back right now, and these are the names that are ahead of him: David Montgomery, Marlon Mack, Kerryon Johnson, and Kareem Hunt. And honestly, I would take Kenyon Drake probably over 3 of the 4 of those names in a majority of my leagues, just based on the sheer volume that he's going to get in Arizona.
Yeah, no, I agree, 100%.
All right, Anthony, Dak Prescott gets franchise tagged. Didn't get the deal that we were hoping for, but they get him for another year, and you're able to sign Amari for 5 more years, which is awesome. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Good for fantasy owners to see Dak back in Dallas for at least 1 more year. And Amari Cooper, obviously, as well. Because if you look at it, the 25 games that Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott had together, they're one of the top combos in the league. So it's really good for fantasy owners. It's really good for Cowboys fans too, obviously. But from a fantasy aspect, Amari Cooper, I fully expect him to be Amari Cooper. Maybe not for the whole 5 years, but for a few. And obviously they lost Randall Cobb, so that's just going to open up even, maybe not more targets. He's still going to get his targets, but right now it's just Cooper, Gallup, and maybe Blake Jarwin, at the tight end spot. So we'll see who else the Cowboys add. But as of now, Cooper and Dak, they should both still be top 5 at their position, fantasy-wise,
Yeah.
So.
Would you Deshaun Watson right now or Dak Prescott if you're in a startup draft?
Oh my gosh, dude! See, it's funny because I'm here in Texas, obviously, and I was talking to Texans fans a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I would gladly take your quarterback over mine right now. But with DeAndre Hopkins being gone, with Dak now knowing that he has Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, people sleep on Blake Jarwin. I don't. Cowboys fans don't. Obviously, because I traded for him yesterday with you.
Yeah.
I would take Dak in a fantasy just because of that. Let's see after the draft, and after free agency if the Texans add anybody. But I like Dak because he's less turnover prone, I believe, than Deshaun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the stats, but I'm just thinking. And I think he puts up. Oh man, that's so tough. You can't go wrong with either. But the DeAndre Hopkins being gone is just. I know Deshaun Watson isn't happy, so
yeah. I mean, it
could be a rough year.
They're fairly compared to their stats last year. Dak threw 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and Watson threw 26 and 12 interceptions. Watson did have 7 rushing touchdowns, and Dak had 3. So, I mean, they're very, very close. But
33 touchdowns each.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Honestly, at this point, I think I would go Dak, just based on
His weapons.
just the weapons and the Cowboy offense. I think bringing in, we were talking yesterday, having Kellen Moore, having Mike McCarthy, and just those two offensive minds coming together. I think the Cowboys offense, which was great, I think just takes a whole nother step this year.
Yeah, that's so tough for me to say too, because Deshaun Watson is a better quarterback.
Yeah.
I think Deshaun Watson he's an amazing talent.
Yeah.
He's right below Patrick Mahomes. But
yeah,
it comes to fantasy. So.
Yeah, and also just the way that the organizations have handled the situation. The lack of ability that the Texans have been able to bring in guys, bring in protection for Deshaun Watson. They keep bringing in, they got good defense, but they struggle to bring in the right offensive weapons, and even them signing Randall Cobb to that 3-year, $27 million deal. To sign a veteran like that with that amount of money, just it almost seemed like I feel like confident in Randall Cobb, but also I'm like he's not young, and he's not a wide receiver. I wouldn't say he's a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. I think he's a wide receiver 3, and their only other wide receivers are Will Fuller, Kenny Stills, and Kiki Kuti. So they're definitely gonna have to either sign someone or draft some wide receivers.
Yeah, I agree. I think they have to try to go get CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, one of those two.
Yeah.
You can go get another Clemson star in T. Higgins, but I don't think T. Higgins moves the bill,
Yeah.
T. Higgins, he dealt with some injuries in that playoff game against Ohio State, but Jeff Okudah and Damon Arnett had him on a lockdown.
Yeah.
So what do you think NFL corners are going to do?
Yeah.
Those two guys are going to get drafted, one probably top 5, yes, but he just doesn't. He's not the guy. You have to go get CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
Then it might help make sense of this move a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with that. Next is this actually one I was not expecting at all, was Austin Hooper signing, becoming the highest paid tight end in the league, going to Cleveland. Cleveland wasn't even on my radar of teams. I know the Bears were looking at him, the Packers were looking at him, a couple different teams, but this one shocked me. But I mean the Bears, or sorry, the Brown fans can't complain whatsoever about the weapons that they have. They got Juice, they got Odell, they got Nick Chubb, a top 5 running back, Kareem Hunt, and now they have Austin Hooper, and still they have David Njoku. So they have all the weapons surrounded by like you said, a top 30 quarterback or a bottom end quarterback. So do you think that this puts the Browns in contention for the division against the Ravens, or is this just kind of a pay your money kind of move?
I just I saw so SportsCenter, ESPN, whatever, put out a tweet with the pictures of all the guys, and it said, "Look at all the weapons the Browns have." The only addition was Hooper, so it's the same weapons as last year.
Right.
And I saw somebody retweeted it and said, "Really, we gonna do this again?" And I laughed so hard because I'm like, it's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
I'm like, last year, I mean, you heard it on this podcast. I mean, it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it all comes down to Baker Mayfield.
Right.
And the dude throws so many interceptions his rookie year and last year.
Yeah.
I don't care what weapons you have if you're throwing it to Earl Thomas for the Ravens, or you're throwing it to, Joe Hayden of the Steelers. If you're not getting the ball to the weapons, you're not going to win.
Right.
And that's what Baker struggled with last year. Odell was frustrated. Jarvis was frustrated. And then it seemed like once the Browns were pretty much, not officially, but pretty much eliminated from playoff contention.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, Jarvis Landry started putting up crazy fantasy numbers.
Yeah.
Because that's how I won my championship.
Yeah.
Because Juice was my guy. But I'm like, what? Where was this all year?
Yeah.
And everybody wanted to blame Freddie Kitchens. I'm like, dude, honestly, yeah, Freddie Kitchens was not ready to be a head coach, but there were so many opportunities that the Browns had when you're watching. It's like, oh my God, Odell was wide open, or he's wide open. How do you not hit that pass? You know? So they have all the makings to be a playoff team, to compete with the Ravens in that division.
Yeah, 100%. I
But
think
it's just on Baker.
Yeah, and their defense as well. Like, it's not a defensive thing. It was an offensive thing, and Hooper, like we talked about on Friday, he's 26 years old. He's young. He's proven to be a elite offensive weapon, and I think he will be that for the Browns. But it's dependent on Baker and just the way that the team gels. Because as much as people want to say, oh, David Njoku gets hurt all the time, like that was true. He was hurt for a majority of the 2019 season, but he still had all these other weapons, surrounding him, and I think. I really would like to have seen them. I'm glad that they signed. Who was that guy from Tennessee? Conklin. Yeah, I was thinking Littleton. I'm like, no, that's a defensive player for the Rams. Conklin, because their offensive line stunk last year, and then that causes Baker to make a lot of poor decisions. So I would like to see them invest more in the offensive line, and I expect them to do that in the draft. But yeah. I don't know if it was worth the money, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you have to spend it somewhere. I understand it because Njoku, while he has all the talent in the world, or it seems like he does, he struggles with drops.
Yeah,
so
that is true.
I know a lot of Browns fans are frustrated by that. So this is a good move. I just don't know if we'll see. I mean, obviously, if it works, it works. But honestly, I feel like the Browns probably could have tried, I think, to make a push for Tom Brady with these weapons. Can you imagine that,
Yeah.
And Brady's not afraid of the wind. He's not afraid of the cold. Foxborough is one of the worst places other than Chicago to play in Green Bay, So I don't know. I mean, obviously they have trust in Baker, and hopefully he performs well.
Yeah.
He has Hooper. He has Odell. He has Jarvis.
No more excuses.
No excuse.
No more excuses.
He has a all-pro lineman. No more excuses.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
This is the make it break it year for him.
Yeah.
Which I guess that gives when you have these quarterbacks on these rookie deals, it gives you that financial flexibility. So
yeah.
If he does suck again, then they also have some players that they can use as draft capital next year.
Yeah.
If they suck again and they want to go draft Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, they can be like, all right, Baker, moving on from you.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to trade Odell, or we're going to trade somebody for in our first round to move up to go take Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. So the Browns are in prime position to be set up for years.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, moving on to the blockbuster deal that was the Houston Texans and the Arizona Cardinals moving running back David Johnson and a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick to the Houston Texans for the number 2 wide receiver in Dynasty Leagues, DeAndre Hopkins, and a fourth-round pick going back to Arizona. So, obviously the clear winner here is Arizona. They add an elite offensive weapon to their offense, and they get rid of a guy that they honestly weren't even going to use in 2020. Anyways, they have Kenyon Drake. They have Chase Edmonds, and they should be good to go. But let's talk about Hopkins in that trade and what that means. I personally don't feel like it affects his fantasy value whatsoever. I think if anything, it increases. But I don't know if I would put him ahead of Michael Thomas yet at this point. But I'd say that they're getting close.
Yeah, no, I think he may have more opportunity. I think now he just will have he might have more of a Michael Thomas impact where he has more catches.
Yeah.
and yards because there are a lot of quick passes and they just want to move the ball quick.
Yeah.
So that might increase his touchdown production, but it also might stay the same. I just think he'll have more targets and more catches now.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anybody's entering that Michael Thomas realm of 115, 120 catches every single year. It's insane.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Now with Drew Brees still at quarterback, I think there's just
for two more years, crazy.
Yeah.
So but DeAndre should, it'll be good. And honestly, I think his addition will help Christian Kirk. I think if anybody might be hurt, which I hate to say this, it might be Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Maybe not though, because he's still balling at his old age. Catches everything near that comes his way, but I feel like the way their offense is going and wanting to be more up tempo, maybe Hopkins and Drake and Kirk get more of the targets now. But
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't think Larry Fitzgerald plays in 2021, and I think he was probably okay with this move because it's just kind of like Hopkins sliding in to his role. And yeah, I mean, this offense is going to be scary, and really, you're not going to have. It feels like the Rams offense in 2018 when they had Woods, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, and then Gurley, who was running like a top 3 running back. And obviously, I don't think Kenyon Drake is a top 3 running back, but when you have
he has potential.
Right, potential,
and that offense.
And Kyler Murray is proven to be a really good quarterback in the NFL. So I'm excited for them. Good for Cardinals fans. They need this. And Texas, Houston, I'm sorry.
Houston, I could care less. You got the cheating Astros. You don't deserve anything else.
Yeah, blame the Astros for this.
Yeah, you guys got a World Series championship. Okay.
Yeah, but also I heard. I mean, I don't think anyone knew that DeAndre Hopkins was available. Like Bill O'Brien wasn't like, hey, this guy's on the block, because I think he would have got some way different offers. I think a lot of teams were shocked when he went, and it must have. I don't know how it developed, but the props to the Cardinals GM.
Yeah, I mean, they right before we got on, I saw a tweet that said the Patriots did talk to the Texans about DeAndre Hopkins, but they couldn't come up with a deal. So, but I no doubt nobody knew. Maybe that was just because Bill O'Brien and Bill Belichick have a relationship, old assistant.
True.
And and who knows? Maybe Bill O'Brien just really wanted David Johnson, or maybe he just really wants that lineman in the 4th round from a D2 school or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Probably. Next one, this is just, we don't have to talk long on this one, but this was just interesting because it was almost the exact same trade as the Texans. But it was, sorry, I was just reading a text. It was Hayden Hurst getting traded from the Ravens to the Falcons, and the Falcons send a 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick in return for Hayden Hurst. So a pretty interesting trade because it happened like right after DeAndre Hopkins got traded for a 2nd and a 4th. But I think if you're a dynasty owner and you still have Hayden Hurst on your team, definitely he's going to get some value just in that Falcon offense. Hopefully he can kind of have a similar role to what Austin Hooper had. He's about similar age. I think he's 26, but was a former 1st-round draft pick. Yeah, I think he'll be all right. I think his value, he's right now he's in the top 30 of tight ends, and I think he probably climbs into, I'd say top 20. I think his production might be if he stays healthy, but definitely check your league, see if he's available because he wasn't a huge producer in Baltimore, obviously because of Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
The next one was the 2nd blockbuster deal that happened. It's crazy. Me and Anthony were every time we texted, it seemed like something happened because I was like, man, I'm just so excited for tomorrow because if it's anything like today, like who knows what's gonna happen. And then literally he texted me back like 2 minutes later. Stephon Diggs gets traded from Minnesota to the Buffalo Bills for a 1st-round pick, a 5th-round pick, 6th-round pick, and A 7th-round pick or 4th?
No, a fourth round next
fourth.
year.
Yeah, 4th next year.
But they received a 7th-round pick.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it
with
was.
Stephon.
That's right. So,
So,
Vikings
Stephon Diggs
got
gets
paid.
way more than DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Jeez, Bill O'Brien, man. Gosh.
But yeah, what do you think about that, Anthony, in terms of his production in Buffalo compared to Minnesota? And, are you buying, selling on him?
I would. You'd think it would stay the same.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe a little bit better.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
John Brown was there. John Brown put up some. It was John Brown, right?
Yeah.
John Brown put up some good numbers trying to be their wide receiver one, and he's not a wide receiver one.
Right now.
So, Stephon Diggs gets to step into that role. He doesn't have to compete with Adam Thielen anymore.
Yeah.
For the ball. And obviously, there was times where Kirk Cousins only threw the ball 10 times. Josh Allen just keeps getting better and better. And another weapon for him is going to help. Cole Beasley in the slot is going to really free up some space down the field for Stephon Diggs, and that's where he really makes his mark. He's down the field, so
right.
It'll be interesting. It might be tough because, Buffalo and December, January areas, that's when playoff time comes for fantasy.
Yeah.
How much reliability do you have on him in fantasy playoffs? That's going to be the tough one because he's not playing in a dome anymore.
Yeah.
And it's nothing on him. He played in the Big Ten. He's used to that kind of weather, but I just don't know how much would it suck if you're in a playoff matchup and Buffalo is playing in a blizzard and you're screwed because your number one wide receiver is now putting up 2 points because it's a blizzard. So that's the only thing that is like scary.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I think I wrote an article on the Buffalo Bills, just like overview for their offseason, and definitely was their biggest need was wide receiver, and figured that they would make a move in the draft to get a couple of these young guys. But this was definitely a shock because we were hearing teams like Seattle. We were hearing teams. I'm trying to remember what the other team was that I was hearing.
To get traded?
Yeah.
The Patriots.
The Patriots, that's right. And then the Bills come out of nowhere and grab him. But I think who it hurts the most, I wasn't high on John Brown in the first place. So right. I think it does increase Diggs' value because he's a wide receiver one for the first time. It was always Thielen who had that connection with Cousins. But I think I'm going to say it's going to minimize Cole Beasley's role in Buffalo's offense. Beasley's a slot guy, so he'll still get his targets in the slot, but I just think it'll be it might be less because I think they're going to be throwing the ball downfield a lot more with Josh Allen. So
so the offense it's going to remind me a lot of the Cowboys offense a few years ago when they had Dez number one.
Yeah.
And Beasley was in the slot.
Yeah.
And then they had Witten at tight end, which the Bills have. Is it Knox?
Yeah, Dawson Knox. Yeah.
Yeah. And a running back like Singletary. So DeMarco Murray. Very similar offensive styles. So Beasley put up decent numbers there. He wasn't a crazy fantasy guy like you're saying, so his numbers probably should drop. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just as far as Minnesota receivers go, obviously Thielen is getting up there in age, but he's going to just still continue to be consistent. Three guys that I would target right now. I think the Vikings get some guys in the draft, but if you can get Irv Smith Jr., he's their tight end. He really came on to the scene towards the end of the season, and as Kyle Rudolph is getting older, definitely going to be getting a lot more targets. And then I believe you pronounce his name Olabisi or Olabasi Johnson, wide receiver. Just he should be available in the majority of your dynasty leagues. Just a guy to pick up and stash because you never know. You know how guys perform in minicamp and fall camp and find themselves working into a role. So those would be two guys right now that I would be pretty confident on picking up. And potentially Laquan Treadwell.
I was just about to mention, I was like, that dude has all the talent in the world and it hasn't worked out for him. No. This might be his opportunity finally. Yeah. It might be.
Yeah, but, hopefully.
And so somebody that we mentioned on Friday was just signed. and he was signed by a team that we actually paired him up with. So I wanted to say that.
Nice.
Jordan Howard.
Okay. Going to
2-year deal to the Dolphins.
Wow. Okay.
So Jordan Howard's going to the Dolphins. So I guess we can probably knock Melvin Gordon and Devontae Freeman out of that.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's surprising because it seemed like they were really keen on signing Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they still do, as a tandem. But
yeah.
I think Jordan Howard and Kalen Ballage will be the duo, whatever there. So
yeah,
interesting.
Alrighty, well, I know we just have a couple minutes left before we got to sign off, so we'll just kind of run through a few of these. But Amari Cooper, like we talked about, signed a 5-year, $100+ million deal with the Cowboys. He re-signs, a great move for him. I would say that his value remains the same, if not increases, but he's already the wide receiver 6 in fantasy. I actually probably would put him ahead of Juju Smith-Schuster right now. So I would put him in my personal rankings, would put him at 5.
Even with Big Ben coming back?
Yeah, just because there's so much uncertainty with the Steelers. I just think Amari fits perfectly in their offense.
He does. He looks good in that uniform too.
Yeah, right. Obviously, Tom Brady, free agent quarterback, announced this morning that he's not going to be returning to New England. So sorry, Patriot fans, cry a river.
I'm not sorry.
Welcome to reality for the rest of us for the last 20 years.
Hey, hold on. You had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
When you go through Quincy Carter and Chad Hutchinson and Drew Henson, those days.
Vinny Testaverde, baby.
And Drew Bledsoe when he was old.
Yeah. So we're obviously keeping our eye on where he goes, but Anthony has a pretty good idea, a good claim that he's going to Tampa Bay, and I'm with him on that. We're pretty positive that he's going to go to Tampa Bay with the weapons there. They got O.J. Howard, a huge tight end like Gronk, Chris Godwin, a great PPR wide receiver, Mike Evans. He's a down the field threat guy, but also just a big wide receiver. Kind of reminds me, doesn't have the speed of Randy Moss, but has that athleticism and height like Randy Moss. So we're keeping an eye out for them to make that announcement. Phillip Rivers signs with the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony texted me, he's like, I really wish that the Colts would have pursued Tom Brady, but I think that would have been the ultimate slap in the face for Peyton Manning. For him to, especially if he went and won a Super Bowl in 1 year with the Colts.
Move into that's like divorcing and then moving your old rival and marrying your old rival and coming into your old home.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just felt like it would have been a good fit.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. If there wasn't all the history, it would make 100% sense.
It's a business.
Okay. And then Rivers goes to the Colts. I wouldn't say that his value increases much whatsoever. I honestly like the weapons that he had in San Diego. I think it was just time for a change. Gosh.
You're good.
I always make fun.
My dad texted me this morning and said, Tom's going to San Diego to take over Phillip Rivers. I'm like, it's LA, Dad.
There's no such thing. But with passing up Hunter Henry, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler to go play with an aging T.Y. Hilton, and they got Paris Campbell. Hopefully that works out. But I just don't. I think his offensive line will be better in Indianapolis. He has a good, pretty solid defense, so they'll be all right. But definitely not worth. I mean, if you play in a 2-quarterback league, you honestly lucked out because you don't have to draft another quarterback this year. If you have Rivers, you can still use him. But I mean, honestly, I would sell him at this point, just for your sake. And then last one, and we'll hop off, is Teddy Bridgewater. Signs a 3-year, deal with the Carolina Panthers, and
Yes.
one last parting shot that Cam Newton took at the Carolina Panthers when they tweeted that they had come to terms with Cam Newton to request a trade, and then he goes on Instagram and literally looked like he was typing in like that Webdings Microsoft font.
That's how he always does.
Yeah. Someone tweeted like they should have just traded him just for using that font.
That's how every single post of his is.
That's
I don't know
crazy.
if you've ever seen his Instagram.
I literally never looked at it.
I don't know if you can see here. I'll show you. That he literally types everything like that.
Jeez. What the heck?
Yeah, every post is like that. But
that's hilarious.
yeah, that's one person I'm interested to see what happens now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Cam Newton still has a lot of football left, and I would love to see him continue playing.
Yeah.
I love when Cam Newton is at his best. It is very fun to watch.
Yeah. 100%.
I love the Superman, all that. So.
Yeah, when he's at the top of his game, he's great. He's dynamic. So we'll see. But I think Bridgewater, I think DJ Moore's value increases just because he does have a consistent passer, and he's a great PPR guy. I think Curtis Samuel's value might decrease a little bit just on the deep ball, but Christian McCaffrey honestly should stay the same, if not even have a better fantasy year, which is insane to say, but he could have a better year in 2020 than 2019. So, Anthony, going back for that repeat title this year.
Yeah, he might be my guy. You know, I signed him last year from free agency in our league, or maybe traded for him. I'm trying to remember. It was when Drew Brees went down, and I picked him up because Jared Goff was just
that's right,
so
Bridgewater,
bad.
yeah.
So I have Goff, Carr, and Bridgewater. So I got 3 mid-tier quarterbacks.
Let's go,
I
baby.
can go with any of them each week. So
Let's go.
I'm excited to see Teddy finally get a shot. I've loved Teddy since he was at Louisville.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he's never really gotten a fair share in the NFL. And he's a great human being. Not that I know him personally, but you see his interviews, you see his off-the-field stuff. He's just a great person.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see him with Carolina.
Yeah.
And
Excellent.
Curtis Samuel wasn't really a deep threat until he was with the Panthers.
Right.
You know, at Ohio State, it was a lot of screens and quick passes and runs. So Baylor, Baylor head coach coming in, the offensive coordinator from LSU, I feel like they're still going to find a way to get Curtis Samuel the ball.
Okay, nice.
Because he's a freak athlete.
Yeah.
Get him the ball in space, he goes. So DJ Moore, absolutely.
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel, like you said, on the deep ball, yes. But I think it'll be interesting to see how they use him and Christian McCaffrey together.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Curtis Samuel's currently ranked 35th in Dynasty League, so let me check his ADP, but I feel like he's a guy that you could actually probably get this offseason just because he didn't have a great 2019 year. His ADP is 89 right now, so that's pretty decent value, I would say. It might drop some more this offseason, but at 8th round pick, not too bad. So
No. Who is the tight end in Carolina now? Do they have
Ian
a main
Thomas.
one?
Ian Thomas.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm guessing they're going to get a guy in the draft. We'll see.
Nice.
But anyways, we'll probably hop back on shortly, maybe end of the week, and cover some more free agent moves. There's still a handful of guys that need to sign. Obviously, we're waiting on Melvin Gordon, Devontae Freeman, Tom Brady. Still waiting to announce those. So we'll get those up on the Instagram as soon as they happen. And follow us on Instagram. We're at the Couch Scouts Pod. That's our Instagram. And then make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on Twitch. If you're watching, it helps us out a ton. And you can follow Anthony on Twitter. He is at Dat, D-A-T, dude. What is it? Dat_dude.
That's a great question.
_AB. And
yes.
that's right, yeah. I know your handle better than you. And
well, it's because I use that for so many, and
oh yeah,
some of them have underscore, some of them don't.
Oh right.
Because they weren't available.
Some other Anthony Bills out there. And you can find me on KOTS Fantasy on Twitter. So give us a follow, give us any questions if you want to jump on the pod or on a live stream. We'd love to have you and just talk football or anything that you want to talk about. So, signing off, Anthony. Any last parting words?
Yeah, just to my Eagles fans, real quick. They just cut Malcolm Jenkins. See ya. Eagles continue to get worse.
4th place.
That's still the Redskins. But all right, see you guys
All right, later.
later.